The rain that night wasn't the kind that fell in heavy, satisfying sheets. It came down as a thin mist, a steady, chilling drizzle that clung to everything it touched. The kind of rain that seeped past coat collars and under scarves, threading, through to the skin until the cold felt bone-deep. Mia adjusted the paper grocery bag in her arms, the damp seeping through in dark blotches. A carton of eggs shifted against a bundle of green onions, and the smell of fresh cilantro teased at her nose. She quickened her pace, boots splashing through shallow puddles scattered across the uneven blacktop. The parking lot was mostly empty. Now, the late hour and dreary weather keeping people inside. Rows of parking spaces stretched like black rivers beneath the sickly yellow pools of light from the street lamps. Her old hatchback sat alone at the far edge, its paint dulled from years of sun and rain. 2 rows over, a single black sedan sat idling. Its headlights were off, but faint exhaust curled upward from the tailpipe, pale in the mist. She told herself it wasn't unusual. People waited in cars all the time, maybe for a spouse finishing their shopping, maybe for a friend. Still, something about it made her uneasy. The car wasn't parked close to the store entrance. In fact, it was far enough back that whoever sat inside could see most of the lot without being seen clearly themselves. Mia looked away, focusing on the silver glint of her own car key between her fingers. Only 20 or so steps to the driver's door. She could be inside in less than a minute, warmth from the heater washing over her. Behind her, a car door slammed. She didn't turn around immediately, didn't want to, though her instincts prickled like static under her skin. But her ears picked up the sound of footsteps, slow, deliberate, cutting through the hush of the drizzle. She turned. A man was walking toward her from the sedan. He was tall, maybe 6 feet, with broad shoulders hunched slightly under a hooded sweatshirt so dark it absorbed the light. His hands were buried in the front pocket. The hood shadowed most of his face, but she caught the faint gleam of eyes, watching her steadily. "Evening," he called. His voice was even, unhurried, almost casual, but not quite. Something about the way he said it lacked the warmth most people used when greeting a stranger. Mia nodded politely, saying nothing. She shifted the grocery bag against her hip and kept moving toward her car. The sound of her boots against the wet asphalt seemed far too loud in the empty space. "Mia!" Her entire body froze mid-step. The bag crinkled loudly in her grip as she stopped, rain dotting her hairline beneath the hood of her coat. Slowly, too slowly, she turned to look at him again. The man had closed the distance between them to maybe 15 feet. He stood in the pale reach of a street lamp now, and though the hood still shadowed much of his face, she could see the curve of a smile, not a friendly one. Her pulse climbed rapidly, pressing against her throat. Do I know you?" she asked. The man tilted his head slightly as though he were studying her from a strange angle. "Not yet," he said. Her mouth went dry. The drizzle hissed faintly against the pavement, and somewhere across the lot a street lamp buzzed with a low electric hum. Her brain felt like it was firing off a dozen thoughts at once, but none of them made sense. How did he know her name? Why was he smiling like that? She forced herself to take a step back, then another. "Listen, I don't know who you are, but you drop this," he said suddenly, interrupting her. Her gaze darted down. Nothing lay between them. The paper grocery bag was still secure in her arms, everything inside intact. When she looked back up, the smile had widened. "I've been wanting to meet you for a while," he said softly. Mia's heart stuttered in her chest. Her car was only 6 steps away now. The keys in her hand were slick with moisture, the tiny ridges biting into her skin. She thought about bolting for the door, slamming it shut, locking it. But the part of her brain that handled caution whispered that if she turned her back, she might not make it. She swallowed hard, her voice trembling despite her effort to keep it steady. "What do you want?" His smile thinned. "We should talk." "About what?" "About you," he said simply, like it was the most natural thing in the world. A shiver crept up her spine that had nothing to do with the rain. Her eyes flicked toward the sedan. Its passenger door hung slightly ajar now. She hadn't noticed it open. In the dim interior, she thought she saw movement, just a flicker of something or someone. Her instincts screamed. Mia took another step back, her breath shallow. "Stay away from me," she said, forcing as much steel into her voice as she could. But he didn't stop walking. The drizzle seemed louder now, pattering faintly against the hood of Mia's coat, the sound nearly drowned by the pounding of her heart. The man kept walking toward her, not fast, but with the unsettling steadiness of someone who didn't feel the need to rush. Mia's breath came in shallow bursts. She tightened her grip on the grocery bag until her knuckles ached, the paper's damp texture giving slightly under her fingers. She shifted her stance, weighing her options. If she screamed, would anyone even hear? The lot was nearly empty, the store's sliding doors far on the other side, glowing faintly behind tinted glass. The muffled sound of music drifted faintly, from inside but out here, nothing. The man's shoes made soft, deliberate splashes as he closed the gap. His hood cast his face in shadow, but she could see enough. The faint curve of a smirk, the faint twitch at the corner of his mouth like he was enjoying this. "You shouldn't be out here alone, Mia," he said. His tone was almost chiding, as though he were scolding a child who'd wandered somewhere dangerous. Her voice wavered. "How do you know my name?" "You'll find out." Something moved again in the black sedan. This time she was sure. A pale hand gripped the passenger side door frame before disappearing back inside. Mia's fingers dug into her keys until one of them pressed hard into her palm, a jagged, desperate anchor. In her head, the voice of her father's old advice rang out. "Never let them get you into their car. Fight, scream, run, but don't go." She didn't know if the other figure was a man or woman, friend or accomplice, but she didn't need to. Every instinct screamed. "The same thing, danger!" "Stop!" she snapped, taking a step backward. The man's smile didn't falter. "I'm not here to hurt you." "Then stay there." He didn't. The moment his foot shifted forward again, something broke loose in her chest. Adrenaline surged, drowning her hesitation. She pivoted, lunging for her car door. The grocery bag slipped from her arms, spilling across the wet asphalt, oranges rolling away in slow, lazy arcs, an egg carton breaking open with a sickening crack. She didn't stop to look. The key slid into the lock with a trembling hand and jammed. Her breath hitched in panic. She twisted harder, feeling the stubborn resistance of the weather-swollen metal. Behind her, the man's footsteps quickened for the first time. "Don't," she wrenched the key free and tried again. This time it turned. She yanked the door open, heart hammering against her ribs. Then a shadow fell across her. She whipped her head around just as his hand shot out toward her arm. Without thinking, she slammed the door into him. It caught his shoulder with a dull thud, and he staggered back a half step, muttering something low under his breath. Mia dove into the driver's seat, her fingers scrambling for the lock. She hit it just as his hand wrapped around the handle, testing it. Their eyes met through the glass. His were a flat, unreadable gray, his mouth curved again in that too-slow smile. He leaned closer, and through the muffled barrier of the window, she heard him say, "You're making this harder than it has to be." Her hands shook violently as she jammed the key into the ignition. The engine coughed, hesitated, then roared to life. That's when the passenger side door of the sedan opened fully. A second figure emerged, smaller than the man, wearing a similar dark hoodie. The hood slipped just enough to reveal a curtain of wet blonde hair plastered to her face. She didn't look much older than Mia, but the girl's eyes were wide, wild. "Mia, get out of here!" she shouted. The man's head whipped around toward her, his face twisting briefly into something ugly. Mia didn't wait. Her foot slammed down on the accelerator, tires squealing against wet pavement. The car fishtailed slightly before catching traction, surging forward into the empty lane. In her rearview mirror, she saw the blonde girl struggling as the man grabbed, her arm dragging her back toward the sedan. Her voice carried even over the rain and the roar of Mia's engine. "They know where you live!" The words sliced through Mia like ice. Her chest constricted as the parking lot lights streaked past, swallowed by the black road ahead. She didn't stop until the store was nothing but a dim glow in the distance. Only then did she pull into the shoulder, hands trembling against the steering wheel. The echo of those words lodged in her skull. "They know where you live." The wipers scraped a rhythmic pattern across the windshield, shoving beads of rain into streaks. Mia's breathing was ragged, her hands locked in a white-knuckle grip on the steering wheel. Her foot hovered uncertainly over the accelerator, the car idling on the shoulder. Her mind was a whirlpool, the man's smile, the girl's frantic scream. "They know where you live!" The phrase looped over and over, each repetition tightening the knot in her stomach. She glanced into the rearview mirror. The road behind her was empty, slick and glistening in the yellow light of distant lamps. No black, sedan. No figures in dark hoodies. Her phone lay in the cup holder, screen dark. She snatched it up with trembling fingers, unlocking it and stabbing at the keypad. 9-1. Her thumb froze. Her call log stared back at her. There, sitting at the very top, was a number she didn't recognize. No name saved, no contact. But the timestamp made her pulse jump. 10:21 p.m., less than 20 minutes ago. She hadn't made that call. Her breath quickened. She tapped into it, listening. The automated voice chimed in. Call lasted 3 minutes and 02 seconds. 3 minutes. Who had someone been talking to? A flash of headlights behind her jolted her forward. A car was approaching fast, its beams cutting through the mist. She couldn't make out the shape yet, but instinct screamed again. That same primal warning that had kept her alive in the parking lot. She threw the gear shift into drive and surged back onto the road. The car behind matched her speed. Her knuckles ached as she gripped the wheel tighter, every muscle coiled. She took the next turn hard, tires hissing over slick asphalt. The headlights followed. A cold sweat prickled along her spine. She cut down a side street, narrow, tree-lined, and empty at this hour, her neighborhood's back entrance. She wasn't thinking about home as a safe place anymore. She was thinking about why they would know where she lived. And then it hit her. 2 weeks ago, her upstairs neighbor, an older woman named Mrs. Keller, had mentioned seeing Mia coming, home late at night. Except Mia hadn't been home at all that evening. She'd brushed it off at the time, assuming the woman had confused her with someone else. But what if she hadn't? The thought curdled in her chest. Up ahead, the familiar shape of her apartment building emerged through the haze. She nearly kept driving past, but something in her gut told her she needed to see for herself. She pulled into the small parking lot, scanning the spaces. Only 2 other cars sat there, Mrs. Keller's dented Buick and her breath caught. Black sedan. Her stomach dropped into ice. She killed the headlights and rolled past slowly, her gaze fixed on the vehicle. The driver's seat was empty. The passenger seat was empty. But something sat on the dashboard, faintly illuminated by the glow of the street lamp above. A photograph. Her photograph. The picture was recent. She recognized the outfit instantly. A maroon sweater she'd worn just yesterday when she'd stopped at the coffee shop 2 blocks away. She had no memory of anyone taking it. Her pulse thundered in her ears, She parked 2 spaces down, engine still running, eyes locked on that image through the misted glass. A floorboard above creaked, the sound muffled by distance but distinct, enough in the quiet night. She tore her eyes from the sedan and looked toward her apartment windows. One of them, her bedroom window, was open, just a crack, enough for the curtain to stir faintly in the wet breeze. She hadn't left it open. Her mouth went dry. In the rearview mirror, movement. A shadow shifting just beyond the reach of the street lamp, slipping between cars. Her phone lay in her lap now, and she snatched it up with shaking hands, dialing 911 without thought. As it rang, the curtain in her bedroom lifted, and a pale hand pushed it aside. A face leaned out. It wasn't the man from the parking lot. It was the blonde girl. Her lips moved silently, eyes wide. She mouthed one word. Run. Mia's body reacted before her brain caught up. She slammed her foot onto the accelerator, the tires shrieking against wet pavement as the car lurched forward. The black sedan vanished in her side vision, swallowed by darkness. In her ear, the 911 operator's voice crackled, "911, what's your emergency?" "They're in my apartment. Someone's in my apartment. He followed me from the grocery store." The words tumbled out too fast, shaky, tripping over each other. Her eyes darted to the rearview mirror. A figure burst from between 2 parked cars, tall, hood up, running toward the road. It was him. "Ma'am, are you in a safe location?" the operator asked. Mia's breath came in ragged bursts. "I'm in my car. I'm leaving. I'm not going home." "Good. Keep driving. Can you describe—" A sudden heavy thud hit the back of her car. The whole frame jolted. She swerved instinctively, gripping the wheel to steady herself. She didn't dare look back this time. "Ma'am, stay on the line with me," the operator's voice urged. "We have units on the way. Can you tell me where you're headed?" Mia's brain spun. Every familiar road felt suddenly dangerous. They'd followed her once. They could follow her again. Her headlights sliced through the rain, illuminating a flashing yellow light up ahead, a 4-way intersection. To the left, the road led into the main part of town. To the right, a long rural stretch bordered by forest. Her gut screamed at her to pick people, light witnesses. But another thought, sharper, cut through. If they knew where she lived, they might know the places she always went. She turned right. The darkness thickened. The rain deepened into a fine curtain, hissing softly against the roof. Her wipers fought, to keep the windshield clear, smearing droplets into watery streaks. Behind her, far back, faint headlights appeared again. Not close enough to be certain, but close enough to keep her nerves razor tight. The 911 operator's voice anchored her, threading through the static of her thoughts. "You're doing great, Mia. Just keep describing where you are. The officers are tracking your location." Her chest heaved. "There was a girl at my window. She told me to run. I don't know if she's with him or—" The operator's tone shifted slightly, more urgent. "A girl? Can you describe her?" "Blonde. Hair, maybe my age. Hoodie, wet hair. She—" Her words cut off. Up ahead, in the blur of rain and shadow, a figure stood in the middle of the road, blonde hair plastered to her face. Mia's foot slammed the brake. The tires screamed, the car fishtailing slightly before stopping just yards from the girl. She stood perfectly still, head tilted slightly, her arms hanging loose at her sides. Rain poured down her face, but her eyes, wide and fixed on Mia, didn't blink. Mia's breath caught. "It's her. She's here, in the road." The operator's voice came through, faint over the pounding in her ears. "Do not exit the vehicle, Mia. Stay inside. Lock your doors." The girl stepped forward. Through the windshield, her lips moved again, just like before. "Run." But this time she added something else. "He's in your car." The words iced through Mia's veins. She didn't turn her head. She didn't breathe. She didn't want to know if it was true. From the back seat, a low voice murmured, close enough for her to feel the heat of the breath against her ear. "Told you we'd talk.